clan Mackenzie is a Scottish clan, traditionally associated with Kintail and lands in Ross-shire in the Scottish Highlands. Traditional genealogies trace the ancestors of the Mackenzie chiefs to the 12th century. However, the earliest Mackenzie chief recorded by contemporary evidence is Alexander Mackenzie of Kintail, who died sometime after 1471. Traditionally, during the Wars of Scottish Independence, the Mackenzies supported Robert the Bruce, but feuded with the Earls of Ross in the latter part of the 14th century. During the 15th and 16th centuries, the Mackenzies feuded with the neighbouring clans of Munro and Macdonald. In the 17th century, the Mackenzie chief was made Earl of Seaforth in the Peerage of Scotland. During the Scottish Civil War of the 17th century, the Mackenzies largely supported the Royalists. During the Jacobite Rising of 1715, the chief and clan of Mackenzie supported the Jacobite cause. However, during the Jacobite Rising of 1745, the clan was divided, with the chief, Kenneth Mackenzie, Lord Fortrose, supporting the British Hanoverian government, and his relative, George Mackenzie, 3rd Earl of Cromartie, supporting the Jacobites. History. Origins. Traditional origins. The surname Mackenzie in Scottish Gaelic is MacCoinich, which means son of the fair bright one. The Mackenzies are believed to have the same ancestry as the Clan Matheson and Clan Anrias. All three are said to be descended from Gillean of the Ard, a Celtic dynasty who lived in the early 12th century, and the chiefs of the Clan Mackenzie are said to have been settled at the great stronghold on Ellandonan by 1297. All of the earliest traditional Clan Mackenzie histories claim descent from a Fitzgerald progenitor. These histories include those by John Mackenzie of Applecross, George Mackenzie, 1st Earl of Cromartie, and the unpublished Letterfern, Ardintole and Allen Grange manuscripts. It is believed that all of these histories ultimately derived from a single manuscript created by William McQueen, Parson of Assynt, in 1576. Now lost. Alexander Mackenzie followed the Fitzgerald scheme for the first edition of his History of the Mackenzies in 1879, but abandoned it in his later 1894 edition based on the intervening publication of genealogies contained in MS 1467. MS 1476 was compiled 200 years before the earliest surviving Mackenzie traditional history. The Mackenzie and Matheson genealogies in MS 1467, which NC 1400, both derive from a Gillean of the Ard, but make no mention of Fitzgerald. The genealogies in MS 1467 have been interpreted as in part of census of the military resources available to Domhnall, Lord of the Isles, in a period when he was seeking to make good his wife's claims to the earldom of Ross, culminating in the Battle of Harlaw in 1411. Based on MS 1467 and a series of charters associated with Beaulieu Priory, it has been suggested that the Mackenzies and Mathesons were junior branches of the Dullard family, heirs to Gillean of the Ard. The senior line of this family, prominent in the 13th and 14th centuries, terminated in the heiress Margaret Dullard, the Lady of Urchless, who married Alexander Chisholm of Cromartie, 1350. In the 14th century, during the Wars of Scottish Independence, the Clan Mackenzie is said to have been among the clans who fought on the side of Robert the Bruce at the Battle of Inverurie against the forces of the Clan Cummin, who were rivals to the throne. Chief Ian MacCoinich is said to have led a force of 500 Mackenzies at the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314, where the English were defeated. Later in the 14th century, the Mackenzies are said to have become involved in battles against their powerful neighbour the Earl of Ross and his allies. This resulted in the capture and subsequent execution of Chief Kenneth Mackenzie in 1346. Soon after this it appears that his successor as chief of the clan Mackenzie was living in an island castle in Loch Canellan near Strathpeffer in East Ross, and it was from this base that the clan was to advance westward once again to Kintail. Recorded origins. An early genealogy of the Mackenzies appears in MS 1467, but the earliest contemporary record of a living Mackenzie is of Alexander Mackenzie of Kintail, who appeared in 2 supplications for papal dispensation in 1465 and 1466, and was listed as a witness to a charter by John of Islay, Earl of Ross, and Lord of the Isles on the 4th of November 1471. The earliest known likeness of a Mackenzie is that of Sir Kenneth Mackenzie, whose effigy can be seen at Beaulieu Priory. He is the first Mackenzie to be buried at Beaulieu Priory. There is no reliable evidence to support the traditional assertion that previous members of his family were buried at Iona. 15th century and clan conflicts. In 1452 a force of tribes loyal to Mackenzie of Kintail took hostage a relative of the Earl of Ross. This resulted in the Battle of Ballinabrog, which was fought to the northwest of Benwivis. The clan Munro and the Septs the Dingwalls rescued the Ross hostage but won a hollow victory, with a great loss of their own men. In 1488 the clan Mackenzie fought at the Battle of Sockieburn led by Hector Roy Mackenzie, but after the defeat of the king's forces there, Hector narrowly escaped, returning to Ross-shire where he took Redcastle from the clan Rose for the rebels. In 1491 the Battle of Blarney was fought between the Mackenzies and the MacDonalds. This was followed by the raid on Ross also in 1491, when the clan Mackenzie clashed with a number of clans including the clan MacDonald of Lochhalsh, clan MacDonald of Clan Ranald, clan Cameron and the Chattan Confederation of Clan Mackintosh. In 1497 Alexander MacDonald of Lochhalsh and his clan rebelled against the king. MacDonald invaded the fertile lands of Ross-shire where he was defeated in battle by the Mackenzies at the Battle of Drumchat, after which he was driven out of Ross-shire. 16th century and clan conflicts. During the Anglo-Scottish Wars, John Mackenzie, 9th of Kintail, led the clan at the Battle of Flodden in 1513. John was lucky enough to escape, but many of his followers lost their lives. John Mackenzie also fought at the Battle of Pinkie-Cleugh in 1547, where he was captured by the English. However, his clan paid a ransom of cows for his release. The growing importance of the clan Mackenzie was vividly demonstrated in 1544 when the Earl of Huntly, the Lieutenant of the North, commanded Chief John Mackenzie to raise his clan against Clan Ranald of Moidart. The Mackenzie chief refused, and Huntly's supporters, the Clan Grant, Clan Ross and Clan Mackintosh, declined to attack the Mackenzies. For that time the Mackenzies were recognized as a separate and superior force in the northwest. On the 13th of December 1545 at Dingwall, the Earl of Sutherland entered into a bond of manrant with John Mackenzie of Kintail for mutual defence against all enemies, reserving only their allegiance to the youthful Mary, Queen of Scots. At the Battle of Langside in 1568 the Mackenzies fought on the side of Mary, Queen of Scots, against the forces of her half-brother James Stewart, Earl of Mora. The chief, Kenneth Mackenzie, 10th of Kintail, died soon afterwards. In 1570 a feud broke out with the Munros over the castle Shanamry of Ross. Andrew Munro of Milntown defended it for 3 years against the clan Mackenzie, at the expense of many lives on both sides. The feud was settled when the castle was handed over to the Mackenzies by an act of pacification. In 1597 the Battle of Logie took place between the Mackenzies and MacLeods of Rassay against the Munros and the Bain family of Tulloch Castle. 17th century and civil war. By the beginning of the 17th century the territory of the Mackenzies extended from the Black Isle in the east to the Outer Hebrides in the west. They took over the Isle of Lewis from its former Clan MacLeod of Lewis rulers and also Loch Elsh from the MacDonalds. The Battle of Mora in 1602 was fought between the Clan Mackenzie and Clan MacDonald of Glengarry. In 1623, the clan chief Colin Mackenzie was made Earl of Seaforth, a title in the peerage of Scotland, taking his title from a sealoch on the island of Lewis. In 1645, Lord Seaforth, fighting as a Covenanter, led a force against the royalist James Graham, 1st Marquess of Montrose, at the Battle of Aldern, where the Covenanters were defeated. Montrose followed up his success by destroying many houses that belonged to people who had opposed the royalist cause, including that of Thomas Mackenzie of Pluscardine. Later in 1649, Thomas Mackenzie of Pluscardine adopted the royalist cause and led his own uprising in the siege of Inverness. In 1672, the Mackenzies were granted a commission of fire and sword against the MacLeods of Assynt, who were a branch of the Clan MacLeod of Lewis, and were seated at Ardvrec Castle, which was attacked and captured by the Mackenzies, who took control of the lands of Assynt. In 1688, Kenneth Mackenzie of Suddy was killed leading a government-backed independent Highland company in support of the Clan Mackintosh against the Clan Cameron and the Clan MacDonald of Keppoch at the Battle of Mulroy. During the Williamite War in Ireland, the Clan Mackenzie are believed to have supported King James at the Siege of Derry and the Battle of the Boyne. In 1690, 18th century and Jacobite risings. During the Jacobite Rising of 1715, Chief William Mackenzie, 5th Earl of Seaforth, led the Clan Mackenzie in support of the Jacobite rebels. However, during the Jacobite Rising of 1745, the Clan Mackenzie was divided. The chief, Kenneth Mackenzie, Lord Fortrose, did not support the Jacobites and raised several independent Highland companies from the Clan Mackenzie to support the British government. However, during the 1745 Rising, a large part of the Clan Mackenzie followed the chief's cousin, George Mackenzie, 3rd Earl of Cromartie, who was a Jacobite. 1715 to 1719 Jacobite Rising. In what is known as the Skirmish of Alness in 1715, the Earl of Seaforth, chief of Mackenzie, led a force of 3,000 men that forced the retreat of a smaller force loyal to the British government, which was commanded by the Earl of Sutherland and included the clans Sutherland, Munro, Ross and Mackay. Much of the Rosses and Munros' lands were ravaged, but they retaliated by raiding the Mackenzie lands in what is known as the Siege of Brydall. The Siege of Inverness came to an end when the town, which was being held by the Mackenzies, was surrendered to Simon Fraser of Lovett. Soon after this, Colonel Sir Robert Munro, 6th Baronet of Fowles, marched into the town of Inverness with 400 Munros and took over control as governor from Fraser. Government troops arrived in Inverness towards the end of February, and for some months the process of disarming the rebels went on, helped by a Munro detachment under George Munro of Culcairn. The clan rivalries which had erupted in rebellion were finding an outlet in local politics. The Mackenzies' position as Earl of Seaforth came to an end in 1716, and it seems to have been arranged that while the Clan Ross held the county seat, the Munros would represent the Tainburgs. To secure the burghs, control of 3 out of the 5 was necessary. Ross' ascendancy was secure in Tain, and from 1716 to 1745 the Munros controlled Dingwall. The Clan Mackenzie fought at the Battle of Glenshiel in 1719, where they were defeated by government forces and the Mackenzie chief was wounded, afterwards retreating to the Western Isles and from there to the continent. In 1721 the Clan Mackenzie, led by Donald Murchison, defeated government supporters from the Clan Ross at the Battle of Glenafric. This was followed by the Battle of Coilban, where again, led by Donald Murchison and also his relative Kenneth Murchison, the Clan Mackenzie defeated government forces. 1745 to 1746 Jacobite Rising. George Mackenzie, 3rd Earl of Cromartie, led the Jacobite Mackenzies at the Battle of Falkirk, where they were victorious in helping to defeat British government forces. The Mackenzies then went on to lay waste to the lands of the Munros, who supported the government, and burned down Fowles Castle. They also went on to lay waste to the lands of the Clan Sutherland and the Earl of Sutherland, who also supported the government, and captured Dunrobin Castle, although the Earl of Sutherland himself escaped through a back door. However, soon after this, as the Earl of Cromartie and his forces were travelling south to meet Charles Edward Stuart, they were attacked by the Mackay and Sutherland independent Highland companies, who supported the British government in what became known as the Battle of Little Ferry, and the Jacobite Mackenzies were prevented from joining the Jacobite army at the Battle of Culloden. Soon after, George Mackenzie, 3rd Earl of Cromartie, and his son were captured at Dunrobin Castle. The Earl of Cromartie's titles were then forfeited. Other Mackenzies took the side of the British government. The chief, Kenneth Mackenzie, Lord Fortrose, had in fact raised 3 independent Highland companies to support the British government. In one of the independent Highland companies under Captain Colin Mackenzie, it is recorded at Shirmore in Badenoch in June 1746, and it included many of them from Kintail, as well as more than 60 men from the Clan Macrae, War, France, and India. A number of famous regiments have been raised from the Mackenzie clan, including the Highland Light Infantry, the Seaforth Highlanders, and the 2nd Battalion of the Seaforth Highlanders, known as the Ross-shire Buffs. All those regiments wore the Mackenzie tartan. Born in 1754, Chief Francis Mackenzie, 1st Baron Seaforth, the last Lord Seaforth, raised a regiment for the British Army in 1778, the 72nd, and the clan produced another, the 78th, in 1793. Both had distinguished records fighting against Napoleon, and were later amalgamated into the Queen's Own Highlanders. The 78th Regiment, as it was first called, was raised in 1778 from men on the Seaforth and other Mackenzie estates. The Earl of Seaforth, having raised his men, sailed with them to India in 1781, but died there a few months later. During the wars in India, Colin Mackenzie was Surveyor General of India, and an art collector and Orientalist. He produced many of the first accurate maps of India, and his research and collections contributed significantly to the field of Asian studies. In 1799, he was part of the British force at the Battle of Seringapatam. He also fought in the Napoleonic Wars. Modern history. Throughout the 19th century, Clan Mackenzie was without a chief that was recognized by the Lord Leon, King of Arms. In 1979, Roderick Grant Francis Blunt Mackenzie, 4th Earl of Cromartie, legally changed his surname to Mackenzie and was widely recognized as chief of the clan. Although not descended from a Mackenzie in the male line, he inherited his titles and Mackenzie descent through his mother. On his death in 1990, his son John Rory Mackenzie, 5th Earl of Cromartie, succeeded as chief of Clan Mackenzie. The Earl of Cromartie still owns lands in Clan Country. However, the largest remaining Mackenzie landowner by some margin is Mackenzie of Gaelic, with an estate which extends to over 50,000 acres. The current chief is a member of the Standing Council of Scottish Chiefs. The current chief of Clan Mackenzie lives at Castle Loud, which is thought to date from the 16th century. The chief has leased the unoccupied old tower to the Clan Mackenzie Charitable Trust for 99 years. In 1991, it was announced that the castle was planned to be restored. The restoration was to include a clan genealogical centre that would be open to the public. During the 1990s there was extensive work done on the tower. In 2002 the Highland Buildings Preservation Trust was contacted to carry out a feasibility study to investigate the potential for the reuse of the upper floor space of the tower, which deemed public funding to be sought to cover the costs of restoration. Because of concerns of physical and legal separation between the clan chief and the tower, the chief decided that the conditions of public funding were too onerous. Clan Chief John Rory Grant Mackenzie, 5th Earl of Cromartie, Viscount Tarbert of Tarbert, Baron Castlehaven, Baron MacLeod of Castlelowd, Chief of Clan Mackenzie. Chiefs of Clan Mackenzie are titled as Cabafay. This Gaelic title is derived from the crest of a stag's head in the old Mackenzie coat of arms. Castle owned by the Clan Mackenzie have included Ellendon Castle was long held by the Mackenzies of Kintail, and it may have been given to them after they helped to defeat the Norsemen at the Battle of Largs in 1263. William Mackenzie, 5th Earl of Seaforth, had the castle garrisoned with Spanish troops during the Jacobite Rising of 1719. Although the castle was battered into submission by 3 frigates, and it was then blown up from within with barrels of gunpowder, the ghost of one of the Spanish soldiers who was killed is said to haunt the castle. The castle was left very ruinous before being completely rebuilt in the 20th century. Brydall Castle, about 3 miles southwest of Dingwall, has now been completely demolished except for one wall. It was held by the Mackenzies of Brydall, who were patrons of the Ross-shire. Castlelowd, which is a few miles west of Dingwall, is an L-plan tower house that dates from the 17th century with later additions. The current Castlelowd was built by Sir Roderick Mackenzie of Coigach in about 1610. His descendant was George Mackenzie, 3rd Earl of Cromartie, who was forfeited for his part in the Jacobite Rising of 1745 after being captured at Dunrobin Castle. Ardvret Castle was built by the MacLeods of Ascent, but it later passed to the Mackenzies, who sacked the castle in 1672. Galpoy Castle near Mora, Ross and Cromartie is a Z-plan tower house that was held from 1618 by Alexander Mackenzie, son of the 11th Baron of Kintail, chief of the clan. It was once ruinous but has now been restored and is still occupied. Red Castle near Mora, near Ross and Cromartie, is a ruined L-plan tower house that was held by the Mackenzies from 1570 to 1790. It was burned in 1649 and later passed to the Ballies of Dock 4. The castle is now a shell. Tartans associated with the name Mackenzie include Mackenzie. The tartan is the regimental tartan of the Seaforth Highlanders, which was raised in 1778 by the Earl of Seaforth. The tartan is recorded in the collection of the Highland Society of London in 1816. The tartan is worn by members of the Royal Military College of Canada Pipes and Drums Band. Mackenzie dress. Mackenzie hunting. Mackenzie Millennium, also known as Mackenzie 78th Highlanders. This tartan, according to the Clan Mackenzie Society of Scotland and the UK website, was recently discovered and recreated for the Millennium Gathering. The society currently sells this tartan. Origin of the name. The surname Mackenzie is of Scottish origin and derived from Gaelic. The name is an anglicised form of the Gaelic Maccoinich, which is a patronymic form of the personal name Coinich, meaning comely or handsome. Today personal name Coinich is generally anglicised as Kenneth. However, Kenneth was originally used as an anglicisation of different Gaelic Personal name Shanarod. The anglicised Mackenzie had originally been pronounced Mackenzie with a modern English Y sound represented with the letter Yog. In the 18th century it became popular to write and pronounce the name with what is the equivalent of a modern English Z sound. Because of the similarity of the letter Yog and letter Z, there are Lowland Scots words and Scottish names that have been affected in a similar way. In fiction, fictional Mackenzies appear in the Outlander series of books by Diana Gabaldon. The seat of the clan Mackenzie, Castle Loud, is widely considered to be the inspiration behind Castle Leach, the home of the clan Mackenzie. In Diana Gabaldon's Outlander series, it was considered as a filming location for the TV series. However, Doune Castle was selected due to its seat of location. This may be surprising to viewers who know Castle Loud as the seat of the clan Mackenzie and accurately represents the historical period which Diana Gabaldon seeks to portray. Diana Gabaldon told STV that when the TV show began scouting locations, I suggested Loud as a possibility. It's entirely accurate as to period, of course, and has magnificent grounds, with a park of enormous, exotic trees planted by centuries of Mackenzies and the visitors. In the Emberverse series by S. M. Sterling, otherwise known as the Changed World, the founder of the clan Mackenzie, Juniper Mackenzie, is descended from this Scottish clan.